Came in on the tail end while your coach was talking about you. When you hear her talking, saying such positive things about you, how do you react to that?
I mean, obviously it feels really good. And, you know, judging by how the season's gone, it's obviously been a great year thus far for me personally. But also I always like to take it to the bigger picture, and our team has just had such a great year. I mean, the only thing I have to compare to it really is the previous 2 seasons I've been here with the team. And it's been a very similar kind of team dynamic, but also very different. And judging by our record, I think you can really tell that there's something special about what we've got going on. And you know, every year has been enjoyable, but this one, you know, it's got a little extra flair to it that I just can't put my finger on. But it's been fun.
As you guys are in the midst of a winning streak right now, your coach mentioned that in practice you guys are really challenging yourselves. She's like, I got both sides of the ball playing well, and they're like taking care of it on their own without even another team on the floor. How do you stay driven, and how do you keep your teammates driven at the same time? Sure.
I think for a lot of us, which is a good thing, it's kind of a lot of intrinsic motivation. We have a lot of girls that are just wanting to get in the gym and get better each and every day. You know, we've got our defensive specialist players out here on the floor, you know, 30 minutes, 45 minutes before practice, just drilling serve, receive, and defense, and just constantly trying to find ways to get better and to push their teammates in the same positional group to get better. And that's huge, you know. And on the floor, a lot of people ask me outside of volleyball, well, are you guys scared that you're winning so much that you forget what it's like to lose? Well, no, because like what Coach Stokes said, it is not uncommon for us to do drills in here and for us to get beat 2-3 times in the same practice in the same drill. So that kind of keeps us humble, and it kind of keeps us in check and understanding of what we need to prepare for the next week, because every week we find things that we need to improve upon. So I think that kind of drives us, and our coaches do a great job of staying on us and pointing out things, like I said, positionally and individually, of how as a group and as a team we can constantly push ourselves to reach that next level.
What have you learned from the 2 seniors this year? How have they had an effect on you on the court and off the court?
I'll start with Simone. Simone is just that steady, constant presence, that she doesn't get too high ever, she doesn't get too low ever, but she's just, you always know what to expect from her. And I think my favorite thing is just when she has those massive blocks that just go straight down to the floor, and then she finally turns around and gets fired up. That just really makes the team go. So just having her in the front row and knowing that I can rely on her to control the net and to really just lay the groundwork for that first line of defense that we've got going, that's huge. And Tate has come a long way since her freshman year. She's really stepped up into a leadership position. This year, on and off the floor, she leads our team Bible study, which is really great, just to get a different look at the personality as far as how a teammate really should be on and off the floor. She's the full package. And on the floor, she's really been doing a nice job of encouraging the up-and-coming freshman defensive players and kind of taking them under her wing a little bit and kind of showing them the ropes and teaching them what Missouri State defense is all about, what our mentality is back there. So they both have just worked together so well to just kind of guide the team, and they're not necessarily very vocal leaders, but I don't think you really need that. And especially those 2, it doesn't really fit their personalities to be that way, but it works. So they've definitely been great influences. They're 2 great friends of mine, and I'm going to be sad to see them go. But before they go, hopefully we're going to achieve a few more milestones and get a few more wins under our belt.
In your time here, and I'm going to echo the same thing I was asking Stokes, that you've accomplished so much on and off the court. I don't want you to talk about that. I want to know how you have the time. There are some people that ask your cell and molecular biology.
True.
Okay.
Yes.
Carrying, the last time I saw the Scholar Athlete of the Week nomination said 3.99 or 3.98 GPA. And the same week, Player of the Week for volleyball at the same time. How do you have the time? You know,
it's a question a lot of my friends and relatives and family ask me, and first thing I'll say is that there never seems to be enough time to juggle everything you want to, which is every student athlete can resonate with that. But you know, it is good having the support system and having, you know, 17 other teammates that are going through the same thing. So it's really easy to, you know, call up a couple teammates and say, hey, I'm going to the library, do you want to join? And we kind of help pick each other up in that sense and kind of help each other keep our priorities straight. So I owe a lot of that to them. But a lot of it is just making sure you have good time management skills. I mean, I know that sounds pretty cliche, but you know, we play matches Friday and Saturday nights. So, you know, during the week, the weekdays, we can't just take nights off after practice no matter how tired we are. So that's really when you have to maximize the time you have to work on schoolwork or study for exams, or, you know, go out and be volunteering in the community, because Sundays are usually your off days. And even though those days you want to just be laying around in bed till, you know, 3 p.m., you know, you got to get up and get going and put those academics first, put the community first. So it's really, it is a game of looking at the schedule and penciling in what you can and when you can. But you just got to have the drive and the dedication to get it done.
One thing that I always am curious about is what other student athletes think about the other teams in the league. Volleyball is probably one of the most competitive sports in the league. But you factor in the fact 4 teams into a tournament. The regular season is typically not decided until the last day.
Yeah.
The fight for the last spot into the conference tournament, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
Some sports, that doesn't even happen.
Right.
You as a student athlete, when you look around the league and the competition you guys see on the weekends, what's some of the stuff that stands out to you about teams and certain individuals, if you want to hit on that too?
Sure. I think something really cool about the Valley and every team that's in it is that you can kind of attribute a certain characteristic or a certain personality, if you will, to each team. So like, for example, you and I, we always know what we're signing up for. We always know that we're going to be facing a relentless defensive effort. Or Wichita, you know, they've got great attackers. They're very offensive. Their side out percentages through the roof. And you know, as you go through, and especially the second time around playing teams, you kind of know the standout players. You know kind of who to key on, who to watch out for. And so it's almost kind of weird, like you kind of know the girls personally, but you don't really, because you don't talk to them. But I like to think, though, that when you shake hands with the team at the net at the end of the match, it's kind of like you exchange knowing looks, like nice job, or we'll get you next time, you know, either way. So there is kind of a sense of camaraderie and seeing everybody, you know, at the NBC tournament, at the awards presentation ceremony. It is kind of cool seeing the familiar faces. And even though, like I said before, if you don't have that close connection with certain players, it's like innately you kind of know them. But yeah, and like I said before, it's a really competitive league. 1 through 10 every weekend, you got to be giving your best, especially for us sitting in the #1 position in the regular season. At the moment, we got 2 weekends left, and you know, we don't believe for 1 second that all 4 of those teams aren't going to be giving us their A game. So I think that's probably one of the best things about playing in the Missouri Valley Conference, is that I think in years past it hasn't been that way, but every single year, especially when I've been here, my freshman year, sophomore year, and now junior year, everybody's just getting better and better, and the kind of talent that coaches are recruiting is getting better. And we're definitely up there competing with the Power 5 conferences, and there's no doubt in my mind about it that it's only going to get better from here.
You said it's almost like you know them, but you kind of sort of don't, but you do because you play against them. There are a couple that you actually do know a little bit more than some of the others, because you're involved in the student athlete advisory committee, and actually our league rep for the Valley. 2 other volleyball student athletes, part of that as well. Talk about what that group does, because some people may not even know what that does on a conference level and a school level.
Sure. And
then some of the things you guys do to sort of raise awareness for the other student athletes that you guys represent.
Sure. So at the institutional level, SAC, the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, mainly it's about, you know, fundraising for our own committee. I know for us at Missouri State, every year, I think every school in the conference actually does this. We have kind of an awards / superlatives ceremony that kind of sums up the athletic and academic achievements of the year, as well as recognizes, you know, excellence out serving others in the community. Just things like that. So I know recently here at Missouri State, we just had a big athletic department-wide Penny Wars fundraiser, and that got really competitive, and a lot of the athletes had fun with it, which was good to see. Just kind of makes the school day more lighthearted and kind of takes the seriousness out of athletics and academics all the time. But yeah, and at the conference level, we kind of come together, share ideas of what works for us at the institutional level. So whether it is what kinds of community service opportunities we're partaking in, and how we make those end of the year presentations, how do we make them better? How do we spread awareness to other student athletes at the institutional level of what SAC is and what resources that student athletes have at their schools that can help them out, whether that be the SWA or the FAR or the athletic director. It's important for students to know that, and that's what we're trying to do. At the conference level, it's more of a, I don't say formal, but we go over a lot of the NCAA legislation that comes out. Right now we're especially reviewing a lot of the new proposed legislative proposals that are coming out. So we have a couple conference calls set up where every school kind of gives their yes or no vote on what we think is best for the student athlete welfare as a whole. So as far as that, but at the same time though, even though it's more formal, we do have fun with it. Like I said, it's been great to get to know Danny and Amy, and kind of, like I said, getting to know them more as just an athlete, and kind of getting to understand that the people that you're playing on the other side of the net, they're human, and they're college-age girls just like you, and you have a lot more in common with them just than the fact that you both play volleyball. So that's been a really cool thing, especially just getting those more personal, in-depth relationships with other student athletes at other schools, and kind of sharing those experiences and kind of just coming together to unite the student athlete voice.
I like how you said they were human, because some people don't think you're human with everything that you're involved in. How did you even get involved in SAC in the first place?
Yeah, it's a funny story. So I remember coming in as a freshman. Every team at Missouri State, some schools do it differently, but every team has 2 representatives. And at the time, ours were Kinsey Batten and Tatum Marshall. However, Kinsey, I guess, had other commitments that she was needing to pay closer attention to, so she decided to give her role up on SAC. So Coach Stokes sent a text to myself and to another freshman, and she said, "Okay, we need one of you to fill this position. I don't care who it is, but let me know by the end of the day." And neither of us really knew much about it. I mean, we just knew, we didn't even know, she just gave us the acronym SAC, and we're like, what's SAC? So we had to, first of all, research what it was, and then when we found out, we're like, okay, well, who wants to do it? And we're like, well, I don't care, you can do it. And she's like, well, I don't care, you can do it. So we ended up flipping a coin, and I believe I called heads, and it was heads, and I was the new representative, and little did I know where it'd be taking me now, but I sure am glad that luck was on my side that day, because it's brought me a wealth of opportunities and relationships, and just overall knowledge of the NCAA and how it works, and how you can really maximize your experience as a Division I student athlete. So it's been a blessing in disguise, and I wouldn't change my involvement on it for anything.
You played with the Collegiate Olympics over the summer. You don't have to go into detail about that, but what's the future in that of opportunity you have?
Sure, yeah.
More there that
definitely
coming your way?
Definitely. I going into the tryout, myself, Lindsay, and Emily, we didn't really know how to take it, and we knew we were going to go and compete. We knew the caliber of competition that was going to be there, but as far as results, we didn't quite know what to expect. I knew I had a pretty good tryout after the 3 days had gone by, but they told us in about a month we'd be finding out. So I tried not too hard to think about it, but that curious competitive side of me obviously was itching to know. And when I found out the team that I had made, I was absolutely thrilled. And I was thrilled for Emily and Lindsay for making the team as well. I mean, to have 3 out of 3 representatives from your school make a team and be able to compete at that kind of level, that's huge. But I think next year, all 3 of us are really looking forward to hopefully being chosen to return to the tryout. I know for me, the 3 levels of teams that there was the team that competed at the Girls Junior National Club Championships in Indianapolis. Then there was the team that I participated on, which went to the European Global Challenge Tournament in Croatia. And then the last was the team that did the tour in China. So there is absolutely a new level for me to reach there, and whether or not that works out for me, I can only hope. But I definitely would like to go back, get another shot at it. And if anything, just go back to get the playing experience and just to keep my skills fresh and constantly improving over the spring, so that next fall for my senior season I can really go out with a bang.
That leads me to my last question for you. Ultimately, I know it's a year away, don't want to fast forward on you, not by one bit, but when you look back on your time here, I might be doing this with you again next year, what's the one thing you're hopeful that you've accomplished here, of all the things, all the awards, the one thing that will mean the most to you that you've accomplished or could have accomplished?
Sure. I think the one thing that'll really mean the most, I mean, you can say that the personal achievements are great, and some people might prioritize those first, but for me, I think coming into the program and seeing the atmosphere and the culture that it had, it was a very successful program already. The history of 20+ win seasons, the banners, you can see them, the conference tournament appearances, the regular season championships, the NCAA tournament appearances. What I really want to establish here is the foundation that it's not just enough to make it to the postseason or to the NCAA tournament, and that we are a team that it's expected of us to do that, and that we are good enough to compete with all the teams from the Big Ten, the Big 12, the Pac-12, the SEC, the ACC, you name it, and that we are good enough to get far into the NCAA tournament. A team goal we set this year was to get to the Sweet 16. And I think while it's a lofty goal, I think judging from our success in the preseason, that it's definitely not something out of our reach. So I think the one thing that I would like to set is the precedent that Missouri State volleyball year in and year out is going to be competitive, is going to beat teams, and then while they may seem like upsets, to us they won't be, and that we should expect that kind of success year in and year out. And I think that'll mean the most.
Final words? Anything you want to add?
Go Bears! Let's hope we can keep it up. Or I should say, hey Bears. So here we go. 2 more weekends left of the regular season. We're going to be gunning for it.